How's everyone doing today?
Awesome!
Woo! Alrighty. So good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. My name is Graham Massell, Massell Capital Investments, Massell Commercial Real Estate. To give you a little idea, we're going to start off with a little bit of introduction about the firm, kind of go through what we're doing with Vertalo and our new syndication platform, and then we'll roll into the integrations and project partners that are here today, and then of course the communities and concepts we're launching with Vertalo and Q&A. So a little introduction. The company was founded by my great uncle and great grandfather, Ben Massell, Sam Sr., and Levi Massell in 1915 with their first acquisition. They erected over 1,000 buildings in the city of Atlanta and were known as the men who built the Atlanta skyline. Later on, Sam Massell, my grandfather, was a multi-career from commercial real estate to tourism to politics and business consulting with the Buckhead Coalition. He was known for the major medical office building. So converting what used to be a doctor would come to your home, they flipped that around where you went to go to the office building to go visit multiple doctors in one trip, right? So it created a lot of efficiencies and economies of scale. He was also the mayor of Atlanta in the 1970s, and then went on to run the Buckhead Coalition, which is essentially a 100-member executive group that has made Buckhead an international destination and a well-known name around the world. Then my father, Steve Massell, has been known for his assemblages and complex commercial real estate deals. He just closed one that was an over 5-year transaction of land assemblages outside of Atlanta, over 140 acres. So a little bit of things all around the board. Nobody knows Atlanta like Massell knows Atlanta. Again, I'm a 4th-generation Atlanta commercial realtor, Atlanta native. So we've been there doing the business for a long time. So that's my father on the left there, Steve Massell. He's a CCIM. That's kind of the PhD of real estate. He wasn't able to make it, and neither was my brother. They're actually attending an Eric Clapton concert this week. So, you know, priorities are important. But I'm here today. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure they're going to have a blast. That's tomorrow evening. But you know, definitely here to have some fun. I'm myself here. I'm a master in commercial property, and I brought our newest hire, Kat Von Schroeder. She's got securities and development experience, so she's 2 weeks in. Kind of went full bore to kind of come here and help me learn about, you know, Vertalo and the project partners and help us launch these new projects. And then of course we do have a good number of brokers on the team as well. They're just not pictured. So they're all back in Atlanta doing some real estate deals. Our clients range from everything from startups, small businesses, to large corporations, everything from like an Edward Jones to a Tesla deal to a Honda Carland, as well as some major payments group, Indigo Payments, and a few other small businesses. I'm going to be talking about a few of these clients today and the projects I'm working with them. And kind of the main piece of the puzzle that we're all here today is, well, how does commercial real estate and these assets become digital? Well, hopefully you've seen enough of the presentations now where you kind of understand what the platforms like Vertalo and the project partners that are here are going to help integrate these real life tangible assets into digital assets that'll be accessible by more people. Just as Enrique just presented on, you know, opening up the world of real estate to more and more people. Heavily demanded asset, but most people think, I can't get into commercial real estate, I'm not a multimillionaire. Well, you don't have to be a multimillionaire to get into real estate. And that's a learning process with clients on a day-to-day basis of teaching them that, you know, you really don't have to be as wealthy as you believe to invest in commercial real estate, and digital assets and tokenization are going to compound that on a huge scale. It's this crowdfunding microfinance model that's really going to open up the world of real estate as an asset class to everyone from small to large in between. So of course, I'm going to kind of, you know, run through this, right? That's what we're here today, is to meet all these different partnerships that we'll be making for these projects. All the folks, you know, that are everything from Tezos, T0, Entoro, you know, all the folks, Netkey, that are involved with Vertalo, and as well as some of the other, you know, folks that are doing some projects. We'll probably be doing some partnerships. I think Enrique, as well as Alan Blair and I are talking, and as well as Gary Brandeis. So, you know, from his presentation to Enrique's to Alan's, we're basically showcasing how all of this real estate is going to change a lot of investment potential for people in what may be third world countries, what may be lower income demographic areas, what may be people who never thought they'd have access to real estate, and we're bringing them the concepts and the project that allow them to get into that space. So just kind of going over the initial kind of puzzle pieces, real estate today, there's a lot of issues, right? Transparency, fees, it's an outdated kind of process. There's a lot of paperwork to deal with in the due diligence process. You have a few, investors on a realistic basis, high net worth investors, the institutional players, a CEO of a business, right? And what we're able to do now is really open up these different things, right? Both the fund administration side with Vertalo, and then of course the real estate tokenization. I deal with investors on a regular basis, and there's a lot of things that these platforms can simplify and make just what are outdated processes into the world of tomorrow, right? The digital age is here. It's time we start updating some of these older processes. So kind of going into the projects that I'm presenting today, I've got a handful of different ones: Caffeine and Octane, Stockmar Airport, and Green Community Kitchens that I'll be presenting on. A couple of others that I'm working on, a medical project, as well as shipping container alternative housing, what I call MUSHA. It's a mixed-use multifamily development using shipping containers. The programs we've developed and designed are up to 7 stories high, with retail-facing, green space, environmental farms and fields. What they call in Atlanta is a food forest. They turned a 7-acre site in Atlanta, Browns Mill Park, into a fully edible food forest. So our program integrates that, as well as a few of our other project partners, to provide food access and sustainability on site using recycled shipping containers and some other green initiatives. So Caffeine and Octane, this is a client I've been working with for 5 years, actually, helping him develop his model. I'm a big car guy. I see, automobiles as A, something to aspire to for a lot of people, but B, a nice collectible piece, and C, it's just a fun hobby if you like the hobby, whether you own nice cars or you get to be around them, right? Caffeine and Octane is the nation's largest monthly car show, with 3,500 cars in attendance and about 30,000 people in a 3-hour window from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. the first Sunday of the month. Consistently, even through the pandemic, there were people showing up to this car show. Yeah, people were, choosing to wear a mask or not. That was their preference. But believe you me, it was a huge hit, even still, during what was going on, because people want to get together and talk about what they love. And the automobile space is people from a low-income demographic who might be a mechanic who has a Honda Civic that they're souping up, all the way to the people with a Ferrari. And it's really an interesting thing to see people gather around a topic and all of the differences fade away, right? They all connect, no matter what race, religion, creed, background they are, to talk about the newest mod or the new Bronco that's out, all those sorts of things. So it's definitely an interesting theme that connects people on a global scale. So what we're doing here with Caffeine and Octane, like I said, nation's largest monthly auto show. They have a TV show on NBC Sports. It's actually aired internationally, 6 seasons in. They also have a mobile app that kind of gamifies the whole concept, so you can build your own garage and showcase your vehicles. So now people internationally can see what kind of vehicles you have. You can share the updates and modifications you make. And then they turned a gamification aspect to where there's a search, find and go seek kind of project for the kids at the shows live. And then you can also scan people's codes and see what other cars they might own in their garage. That kind of leads into, well, what if there was a digital asset and a token that was represented by this automotive enthusiast group? And hence what we plan to develop is the Caffeine and Octane Coffee Garage. It's a 5.5-acre site, retail pad, retail shopping center with a Firestone at the end that will be converting into essentially their home base. It's a film studio, a restaurant, bar, coffee shop all in one, garage doors, and this is in development. So this was an early facade photo, but we have full-on plans and everything, construction estimates and everything. So that's a project in current development phase. The essential kind of aspects behind it is they need a place where they can film content 24/7 rather than a 3-hour time period once a month, right? It takes 7 crews to film just for their seasons at the car shows, and they have to do them at car shows where A, the weather looks great, and B, again, 7 crews run around a car show that's literally an entire mall parking lot where they're trying to capture stories and cars. So we're building essentially what I call the oil well for their content creation pipeline, right? So as their show continues to grow on multiple TV shows, the kind of next level step is a home base that we can do nationwide and even internationally. So hence the Caffeine and Octane Coffee Garage. Stockmar Airport, it's a private airport on 135 acres just outside of Atlanta, out west I-20. It's about 35 minutes from inside Atlanta. It's a private airport, so no FAA interaction at all. They've got 41 hangars, 6 Quonset huts, 1 large hangar, a 10,000-gallon fuel farm, and maintenance mechanic on site, as well as a pilot's lounge. We've got a full rental rate of tenants and a 2-page waiting list of tenants who want pilot hangar space. Because it's one of the only 1 out of 35 private airports in the United States, they're also, a unique, high barrier asset. Their biggest puzzle piece is in Atlanta, a lot of the airports are starting to make changes to their reservations list as well as their rental capabilities. So that's kind of what's drawing the 2-page waiting list of renters who want aviation space. So with that, we've got 135 acres. We could expand upside value to add more hangar space to accommodate those folks. We're in the process of expanding the runway. It's currently 4,500 feet to accommodate Bombardier jets, larger aircraft, commercial jets for CEOs, high net worth individuals, people who just want to fly private, as well as medical commercial flights. That's kind of the next step, is expanding the runway to 5,500 feet. We have the land to do that. We've had multiple discussions with the city and the county and the commissioners. So we're all on board rolling on that. It's also got enough land for movie studio space. It's been used as a movie site and TV show site multiple times. The most recent Gerard Butler's Greenland film was filmed there. Multiple scenes, Marvel scenes have been filmed there. A few TV shows, I think The Amazing Race at one point was filmed there. But it's a Georgia registered film site, and a lot of the movie theaters, movie studios in Atlanta would like to expand their capabilities with aviation scenes. So we're in talks with them about building a co-working movie studio where we'll be able to access for multiple different film companies to have space to shoot their green screens films, series, as well as any aviation components. It's also one of the few sites in Georgia that has a hemp grow license. So they just started with a 4,000 square foot grow space, but there's room to expand that as well. And of course, hemp is a growing, asset throughout the United States, and there's also capabilities there to expand that. So definitely an asset with some interesting privacy features, as well as it's surrounded by some good land for further development, both industrial. We're talking with some data centers around nearby, but that is what entices the CEOs that are interested in this site and the different corporations. I've got a huge list of who's been inquiring on it to say, we'd love to be able to fly in here and build an industrial facility nearby. Just to the south of this site, this is kind of a west-looking view. Just to the south is Mirror Lake subdivision. It's top of the line, country club, golf course community. So there's great homes in there for both rent and for sale. So that kind of adds to the exclusivity factor. And Villa Rica is a growing little town. Again, Douglas County, that's where Tyler Perry lives. So it's definitely a growing western suburb of Atlanta. Again, Stockmar Airport, that's a redevelopment project. We've got value add opportunity. And then one of my close to heart projects is Green Community Kitchens, working with Ponics. They're a client of ours who does urban agriculture hydroponics. So the idea is we're going to do a combination of commercial kitchens and commercial grow. So we'll be able to have produce grown on site while also offering commercial kitchens, ghost kitchens. If you haven't heard of that term in commercial real estate these days, it's essentially catering kitchens, to-go kitchens, and people who are doing pop-up restaurants, which in many major cities is a huge thing. The social media craze about it. Also in Georgia, if you have a food truck, you have to have a commissary kitchen. So we've got a couple of sites that we've identified that are prime access for a green community kitchens, as I call them, commercial kitchen and food urban agriculture. So just to touch a little bit on Ponix, they're a client of mine. I'm also a board member with them. They do container grow systems in shipping containers, and they also do grow racking systems. So they're in a Sweet Auburn market in downtown Atlanta growing produce that they sell to a lot of the vendors on site there in the market. It's a food hall, so to speak. They also are launching their next piece of the puzzle, which will be a full salad shop. So the idea is that they'll be able to go into food halls and do salad shops as well. So they're kind of the go-to client of mine for urban agriculture, and they've got a few other large development projects as well. I'd be glad to talk about those separately. But again, that's another project that I think is wash, rinse, and repeatable, where we can go into areas that are both food deserts and opportunity zone sites, get both grant programs and of course tax benefits for those investors who have capital gains taxes to avoid, to place assets, place capital. So that kind of opens up some locations that are rural that need these kinds of places, for people who are young entrepreneurs who want to be a restaurateur and have great cooking skills, but there's nowhere for them to go cook, right? Then the access to produce in some of these rural areas is whatever you can trade. Well, we want to provide them with a place that they can have both a retail site as well as some additional grow on site. And that's where some of those food grant programs come in. So this is kind of the spoke model to go along with their major hub that we're in development on in Atlanta. That's going to be their 200,000 square foot ag tech center. So those are kind of three of the projects I wanted to showcase today. The rest of the presentation is really just about what you should do next steps wise. Well, if you haven't already, please scan the QR barcode, put in a little bit of details, go outside and check the golf ball bin on our table and give it a good guess, because if you guess the right number of golf balls and tees, you get a $500 gift card voucher to a Club Med resort, ski or sand, beach or ski, whatever you choose. So I'd be happy to give that out by the end of the conference. I want enough people to guess. It's a pretty easy thing. You just put your name and details in and guess a number of golf balls and tees. And then, of course, what is our timeline for these? We're in the middle of them right now in this fall. I had a call this morning with a client for Ponix to talk about his project. I've got another call with Caffeine and Octane this evening. So these are real projects in development. This isn't some just idea. They're actually happening. So it's time to get involved. We're fundraising and doing programming this fall and winter, and then hopefully by spring, summer, these will start to stabilize. And then of course pricing, I'll just kind of go through the minimal details. The site for Caffeine and Octane is a 5.5 acre tract with some retail on it. It's about $5.5 million. In terms of what our development costs and additional programming, probably be about a $7 million all in operations wise. Just to finish out the development and then of course fill any other programming and planning with the rest of the tenant spaces. Stockmar Airport is a $7 million acquisition. Our rough estimates thus far is that it'll probably be another $23 million to $25 million in development for what we want to do. Then the Green Community Kitchens, we've got a location in Marietta, which is just to the northwest corridor of Atlanta. That's $1.6 million acquisition. It's an old barbecue catering restaurant, so it's pretty much ready to go turnkey. And then the southeast corridor, Chosewood Park, new neighborhood on the Beltline. If you're not familiar with the Beltline, it's essentially a ring of walkable path around the city of Atlanta. It's really what spurred the Low Line and all these other different walkable, accessible communities through, walkways, bikeways, pathways throughout the nation. And then that one is $2.9 million, probably have another $4 to $5 million depending on the program that we do for redevelopment there. So again, I'm Graham Massell Commercial Real Estate, Massell Capital Investments, Kat Von Schroeder here at the front. Look for us the whole week, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that presentation, and time to take questions.
And you folks know, am I pronouncing it right, Massell or
Massell.
Massell?
Like, I'm gonna sell you some commercial real estate. Yeah.
You're the developer of these.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm coming in as, I have this circle of connections in Atlanta to make projects happen. I have clients who have development projects who need to raise funds for these projects, who want to do these next steps in their business, and I'm bringing funding and the development pieces to the table. And I'm hoping to use Vertalo and these other projects to then take these and make them a tokenized asset on an international scale. Because I believe that Caffeine and Octane is a brand that is an international capability. Similar to the Hard Rock Cafe, we can do a Caffeine and Octane in every major city throughout the United States because there are that many car enthusiasts, from Ferrari owners to muscle cars. And we've got programmed events as well, because Caffeine and Octane is an events company. So with them, we do Ferrari Fridays and Italian food, muscle car wing Wednesdays. So the whole program is to create a space where these car groups can gather, right? Porsche Cars of America, Toyota Supra clubs, the Mini Cooper clubs, all these different groups will now have a home to basically come and do their meetups while also having an automotive theme. The coffee partner, Batdorf and Bronson, is a nationwide roaster, supplier, wholesaler, both equipment and training programs. They're based out of Washington. They have an Atlanta roastery as well. Their Atlanta director is a big car guy as well. So it's kind of a unique kind of combination. We'll do a white label coffee lines of the Octane Slick dark roast in a old oil can box. So that's kind of one of the things we're working on there. Each of these projects similar. Ponix has multiple projects in the works right now. I'm a board member, like I said, with them on their real estate and development. So we've got a few projects, not only just the Green Community Kitchens, but their Ag Tech Center, about a 200,000 square foot development. And then of course we're working on a few things with Invest Atlanta right now. So, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the shipping container model for those who don't know what that is?
Yeah, sure. So a few years ago, I built a model using shipping containers as housing. Housing is an international issue, and it was really a note of, we have all of these excess containers around the world that are not being used, and while there's been some complications recently with COVID, and a lot more of them have been starting to be used, and the demand for shipping containers has grown, containers can be recycled quite easily if you have the means to do them and the scale. So working with a local group outside of Atlanta in Lawrenceville, they're called BMarco. They're a container modifier. We've built a platform to basically get containers in, have them modified into a few different floor plans, and this is a whole nother presentation I could go through, where we have built this model that could be about 7 stories high. Well, the designs we have are on a 7-acre site, and it looks like a Coca-Cola bottling rack where the shipping containers are placed into the main bridge, central stairway, walkway, hallway. So with that, you take the containers, you get your sustainability credits for recycling containers, and then of course you add some solar and some geothermal into the plan, then you kind of make them a fully sustainable development. So that project, unfortunately, the site that we were looking at in Smyrna, on the northwest corridor of Atlanta, the sellers ended up going under contract with an Amazon third-party logistics warehouse, right? That guy was just lying about all of that and submitted plans for City of Smyrna for self-storage. And it was the site that's the gateway to City of Smyrna. They're literally signed, "Welcome to City of Smyrna" is right there. So he got denied for his self-storage. I'm in talks with him about buying that site, out from him. So, that's kind of the hopes there. It's a 7-acre site to do this mixed-use green community, but we're also looking at a few others around Atlanta, and that can be scaled back to tiny homes and containers all the way to, large mixed-use developments. So again, it's not like a dream idea. I've had a structural engineer who's done container projects, an architect, a civil engineer who've done container projects, working with Skanska as the construction partner, as well as BMarco, like I said, outside of Atlanta, Decula. So it's a fully built model. We just had some hiccups with the site, and that was December 2019, and then when we were about to enact on another site, COVID hit. So it was one of those things. It's on the back burner for now, but Ponix is an integration part for that, as well as a few other concepts that I'm working with. So. That's the goal. So, I mentioned like Caffeine and Octane and Stockmar, those have specific enthusiasts who enjoy them, right? Automotive, aviation, people who want to have that kind of exclusivity in travel or vehicles. But the Ponix and Green Community Kitchens go into these, areas of need, rural areas, low-income demographic areas, be able to provide them with investment opportunity as well. So I'm actually working on a few sites in Atlanta with some of the more challenged demographic areas to do that, to open up that opportunity for investment for people who typically see a developer come in, and that's when gentrification happens. They never get a piece of the action. Well, with tokenization of assets, we have the ability to change that. We have the ability to offer that investment piece to people who live in a community, have held that community up for years, and now that it's finally ripe for development, instead of them getting no piece of the puzzle, they actually are included, and they feel a part of the community as it grows, and you don't have as much tensions that arise. So.
Do you expect institutionals to invest alongside the crowdfund as well, or?
I hope so. I've got a pretty large partner for the container project. They're finishing up a project in Puerto Rico right now with a different design, and they've kind of told me, we like what you have better. So once we finish this, so hopefully that discussion will continue in the next month or so. Yeah. And again, I have further presentations on each of these. I just only had time and a window to swing through. So.
Questions was more of something to add to Bobby and correct off this, but as one example, in the exchange market that is to come, we all will bring our numbers to it obviously too.
Yeah.
But one thing that really helps, like, how are you going to market your own project as well to get those investors interested to invest? I think the local way obviously makes a lot of sense, but internationally, like that, Japan, Germany, they have no deal on that, but they might want a piece of it.
Yeah.
Getting that marketing out there. So much we can do as we can do a whole lot of like advertising courses and stuff, but that's something to think about actually, how you're gonna market this as well.
Absolutely.
Even though they're local projects.
And the caffeine and octane one has a pretty good, easy way to start, major international exposure because it has a TV show that's aired internationally. I mean, millions of viewers. So that'd be probably one of the first ones we're working on, and to me, that seems like a good way to advertise, that piece of the puzzle. Similar with Stockmar Airport, there are aviation magazines, as well as they have forums and communication channels for all these folks who are aviation enthusiasts. So those are some of the channels we've looked at thus far. Of course, Ponics, that's a much more localized one, and urban agriculture piece, we'll connect with a few different components. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you.